Good morning, traders. Today is Friday, May 20th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Well, so much for getting started early, as I promised to try to do yesterday. My bad. All right. Well, what did we have happen yesterday and in the overnight? Well, yesterday the market got a little bit of continuation to the downside, but in the form of rotation, in the form of balance, which was a good way to sort of give the market a day to cool off and absorb some of the momentum to the downside. As a result, the overnight was pretty bullish. Let me just expand it out. So you can see it generally just kind of trended higher all night, a slow drift up. That is a little bit bullish to see, although in general, when we collapse the profile, it still kind of just looks like rotation in the same range. So you can see we're sort of developing a balance area. Let me just get that drawing tool up and running here. So you can kind of see we're almost starting to develop a new balance area in here. You could also look at it like a little bit of a channel, a little bit of a bear flag. So the main things I'm looking at this morning, the main thing I'm paying attention to is this area around 3955, which was, sort of the area that was the bottom of the balance area. It also had a set of single prints that we left behind there 2 days ago. So if the market can get above that overnight high, work its way through the base of those single prints up at 39.55, and then come down and find some support around that overnight high, I will look for continuation to the upside because we could head up to the opposite end of balance if we poke back into the balance area. If not, I'll be looking either for rotation, once again, sort of in the same area that we've been in yesterday and the last 2 nights, or further downside continuation as a continuation of value being lower. Okay, value being lower, yesterday was the second day in a row, is a sign of a new trend to the downside forming. So either sideways or down is the highest probability today, which is why I say I got to see them get above that overnight high, get through the base of those single prints, come back down, find support. I got to see all of that before I'm ready to look for a trade higher. Otherwise, the higher probability is sideways today. It is also worth noting today is a monthly options expiry. And a lot of times there's 2 kind of ways options expiries play out. It's a little bit confusing because they're completely opposite of each other, but sometimes it's like a slow melt one direction all day if the market is overly hedged one direction or another, and they're like unwinding that hedge. Sometimes the market just kind of keeps pumping one direction or another. Another option is sometimes you get a very tight rotational day where the market kind of goes nowhere all day long and just grinds around. So the fact that we're already kind of developing a balancing area in here, and we could have a balancing day purely because it's options expiry Friday, it wouldn't be unreasonable to me to have just kind of like a rotational day inside this range once again. So I'm open to all the possibilities here. To get bullish, I got to get above 55 and then find some support. And to get bearish, pretty much anything below yesterday's low would get me bearish. But in between, I expect we're just going to get some rotation. And that's what I'm looking for. As for the open here, the overnight inventory was net long, but we opened inside the previous day's range. So we would expect a counter auction to the downside, which we obviously already started to get here, and chop the market to grind around. And we'll keep an eye on yesterday's high and the overnight high if the market starts to head up there. And again, for both of those, you want to see it get above, find support, get above, find support. Good old Friday. Good morning, MW. Good to see you. Welcome. Philip is here. Scooball, Amir, top of the morning to you. Cyrus is here. John Lash, T-Bay, Laura, Levi, Cortman, R.K. Leon, Ederson, Daniel, J.B., Greg H., He says, welcome to the OPEX Friday, volume and volatility. Well, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get no volatility as a result. But we will see. Eldora, good morning to you. Giles is here. David Glass in the house. Jose, good morning. Jay Trader, good to see you. Jack in the house, welcome. Bob, good morning from the mountains of Tennessee. Welcome, Bob. Overlord, hello to you. Being Prosperous, good morning. Being Prosperous, I saw your email. I haven't had a chance to write you back. I'm going to write you back today, though, so keep an eye out for that. Scooball, the D1 candle looks weak at the low. Yeah, the low from yesterday's overnight. Shit was weak. Yeah. I would concur. That looks like a weak low. All right, so it looks like we're getting that counter auction to the downside. First bit of support is going to be right around 39.23. This little note of volume right here was the closing price 2 days ago. And you also got the half back from the overnight in there. So some potential support for continuation of the chop. And if that breaks, heading down towards 39.03. Xavier, good morning to you. Rev is here. Greetings. Tom is with us. Good morning to you. Jeff, good morning. Nicholas, hello. Saab is here. The Shaw in the house. Ronald says, shiver me timbers. Phoenix, howdy. Caffeine, good morning to you. Bruno is here. WSS says, for those who have not subscribed, the site has an active chat that Charles monitors. That is worth your time to follow all day. Yeah, he's saying this live stream, the way there's a chat here, there's a chat in the live all day. So if you join the brigade, it costs you just $10. If you join the brigade, you can ask me questions all day long. Okay, so it looks like we are getting some support here and some more chop. If they can get back through the opening price now, 39.36, I think they'll probably target getting to yesterday's high. But there's some resistance between here and there for more chop. Pavel, good morning to you. Design Knob, good morning. Casino patrons. Biggest casino in the world. Being prosperous, happy to. Nicholas, good morning. Boss man, good morning to you. And Novice Trader, welcome. If you have not yet, please press that thumbs up button. Really helps out the channel. One small like for you, one giant piece of support for me. Money Kiddo says, salute. You having a drink? I don't even have my coffee yet. Johnny Be Good, would your e-course be suitable for volume profile traders? I 100% think it would be suitable for volume profile traders. So the main focus of the course is learning to read the two-way auction process, which is essentially learning to read who the participants of the market are in any given moment and what it is that they're trying to do. Are they trying to push the market higher? Are they trying to push it sideways? Or are they trying to push it lower? That's the main focus of the course. And that's valuable to anyone, whether you use Market Profile or not, just understanding how that two-way auction process works. The course also covers how to develop your own system, your own strategy, which I think a lot of people are finding valuable. Arthur, good morning to you. John Lash, I know, glutton for punishment. Torturing myself. Money Kiddo from Quebec. Well, I don't know any French, but hello to you from Quebec. DM says, good morning. It's single print Wednesday fill Friday. Enjoy the day. So I assume you're thinking we're going to fill those single prints left behind. There's a lot of them. There's this first set here, which would get us up to 39.55. And then there's the big set up here, which would get us pretty much to the opposite end of balance. But we shall see. All right, getting back through the opening price increases the odds. We're about to go test that overnight high. Looking for resistance. I'm sorry, the high from yesterday and then the overnight high. So in both cases, we're looking for the market to get above the high, find support, push its way above the high, find support. Remember, this area here is the balance area low. So if the market is able to get its way back up into that previous balance area and stay in there, it will be very bullish for continuation to the upside. But if they just poke up in there and then fail and pull back down again, it'll lead to substantial selling. So before you get too bullish up here, make sure there's support. Let's jump over and take a look at the Q. All right, NQ very similar to the ES. A value trending lower yesterday, but it was a rotational day. Same thing with their overnight. A little bit bullish, but really just rotating in the same range. And we've got chop here so far this morning. And same exact thing with the balance area. If they can push their way up above that overnight high at 12,101 and then come back down and find support, that would be very bullish for continuation to the upside as they re-enter that balance area. So the opposite end of balance would be 12,500. So if they can get back up in there, come back down, find some support, that becomes the target. If not, chop and rotation. Rugsy, good morning to you. Rob is here. Good morning, traders and wannabes. Well, everybody who's trading is a trader. Now, profitable or not, that's another question. River 72, welcome to you. Good to see you. Xavier Charles, when you say low or high taper, you mean that taper would be like reading the tape? Taper refers to the amount of volume at a high or a low. So for example, let's look at the low for today so far. We have good taper on this low. We have 2,600 contracts, then 1,800, then 900, then 600, then 5. I don't love the 5, but that's no big deal. But basically, do you see how they're going less and less? Okay, now let's find some bad taper. Okay, here's an example of some bad taper. On a low, 5,000 contracts, like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, almost 6,000 again, and then 1,400. So like it went from a lesser amount to a larger amount to immediately falling off. That's bad taper. And essentially what good or bad taper at a higher low tells us is the odds of whether or not the market finished the two-way auction to the downside. Right? When we see taper like this, 10,000 contracts, 7,000, 5,000, 700, we see that we just ran out of people who wanted to do business up there. So that's a good end of an auction. Whereas this makes us think, nope, they want to push down lower. This auction wasn't over, and clearly it wasn't. As you can see, the market continued lower. So when we look at this right here, this volume on the low that we have from this morning so far, look at that taper. It's just perfectly running out of business on the way down. So that tells us we're likely to keep finding support in here as the market tests these levels. So that taper, in my mind, increases the odds of chop, of rotation, that there are buyers waiting in here to do business. Good taper on the high as well. DM says, all indices are consolidating, setting up for a squeeze. Could be. Could also be one of those Fridays where the market just rotates in a tight range. That used to be the norm on options expiry Fridays. Most of the time it was a tight range. As of late, we've had a lot where it just kind of, like I said, melts one direction all day long. If they're like overly hedged one direction or another. But it's not impossible to imagine a rotational day inside yesterday's range. Courtman, have you tried looking at daily or weekly composite profiles to gain new insights? I have played with those in the past. I never found, it's one of those things that's like, you always see things that are interesting that you go, oh, okay, look at that. You know, there's been a lot of support in this certain area or whatever. But I've never really found it to be actionable in any way. The way I think about the markets is very much what's happening right now. So kind of whatever's happened in the past over the last week or over the last month or whatever the case may be, I already kind of have this is going to sound like a strange way to explain it, but like I already have a backlog of all of that in my mind. I know what the market's been doing. I know if it's been in a larger downtrend or a larger uptrend. I know if it's been balancing. I know if it's been trending for a couple of days. You know what I mean? Like I kind of just always know what the market is doing at the open each morning, like what it's done in the days that lead up to that, because I'm watching it all day, every day. So I don't really need to look at stuff like that. I find all I need to look at is what's happening right now in this current 30 minutes. And that is also, by the way, really what the volume composite is over here on the left, the orange color. That's pretty much what that is combining, the last 90 days and seeing where did the most business take place. Corbin, so weak and poor references on the macro trend are not relevant because of the influence of long-term traders. No, it's more like I keep track of weakness as we go, right? Like you can look up here, you can see every day since the all-time highs, right? I've tracked every time we created weak references. I've tracked every time there's single prints that need to be backfilled. I've tracked where the previous day's highs and lows are. So I know, where all the weakness is above. I just tracked it day by day as we were there. Now, what would make sense is like if the market continued to sell off, right? And we just continued to get more and more selling back down further into these areas where I don't have any old data because I had updated my template since then. Then it would be a good idea to go grab all those old dates and composite them together and look for weak references and stuff. Come back over in here, composite all of this together. It's not a bad idea, actually. Should the selling continue? All right, so pushing back down into this support. Like I said, you got this node right here around 20, and then you got this big node down here around 3,900. So market likely to continue rotating inside of there, and I would really only look for further downside continuation if we get below these levels. Otherwise, it would appear we're going to get some chop. Tom, where is the long zone, Charles? Well, right now I would say it's too early to make a call. If you were looking for a quick, like rotational type of trade, anywhere in this support that you see in here. So any purchase in that area for a bounce back up towards the halfback would be reasonable. But I'd have a tight stop on it because they may just sell off right through it. Or getting above the overnight high, coming back down and finding support. That would be good for a long trade for continuation back up into the balance area. But until the market has picked a direction, I'm not interested in going long because it might just chop and chop and chop, and it'll be hard to know where the low actually is. Daniel says, that's the support. What's the resistance? Well, the resistance is the balance area low. Okay. And so you just have to understand that as we've been pushing up towards it, we've been running out of buyers over and over again. So to really prove that they're going to get back up in there and new buyers are going to participate up in there, you need to see the market push above the overnight high and come back down and find support. Anything other than that, the higher probability is heading lower. Anything other than pushing above the overnight and then new buyers stepping in up there, the probability is lower because of the trend in the market. Trend in value. Rockingham, if anything, isn't it a short environment? Yeah, again, I don't take trades before I've established what environment it is. So that means the market either needs to start trending somewhere, meaning we need to get the initial balance, the C period, to push above or below the initial balance. Okay. So that has to happen first, in which case I go with whatever direction that is until we get cessation, which is one time period making, new highs or new lows. Then I look for rotation. But until I've established one or the other, a trend or rotation, any trade is basically gambling. It's just guessing. But that being said, yes, I think the probability of coming down here and testing this area is pretty high if you're looking for a quick scalp. Primal, thank you for the sub. Welcome. Rockingham, hoping to take out the weak lows. Yeah, that's another great point. There was a lot of weakness left behind yesterday. Down there at 86, and then even the low of the overnight was also weak. So that does add some probability. But first, I mean, there's support in here. So, you know me, one step at a time. If they can't get up above the overnight high, they'll head down into here looking for support. If they can find it, they'll just rotate. But if they can't, then I would look to repair this week reference, and if further downside continuation, to repair that overnight low. But I take it one stop at a time. So first, let's see what happens in here. Scott says, see, that's why you and I differ so much. You need to establish the bull-bear environment first. But for me, it's always a trading environment. Yeah, Scott, I hear you, man. Some people are great at trading the chop in the first hour of the day. A lot of people, that's all they do. That's their whole business. But not me. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I feel like it burns up all my mental capital first thing in the morning, so I'm exhausted for the rest of the day. I like to just sit back, sip on my coffee, hang out with the chat, and wait for the market to tell me what it's doing. Sniper rifle versus a machine gun. $777 Athletic. In the last 2 weeks, I've learned a lot from you. You started to give more tips than before. Probably just people have been asking more questions. Okay, the NQ is testing its 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. Looking for support there. On the Q. Nunez says, taking a shot at shorting with a stop loss above the high, the overnight high. Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's nothing wrong with moving your stop below your entry. You got very thin volume in here, so they're likely to find support. Get a rotation back up towards the halfback. Cortman, the ES has been making higher highs and higher lows since the low on Thursday. Breaking the low of the overnight would end the uptrend move. Yeah. I don't know that I would call that an uptrend. I would just call that like a large consolidation area. Think about it just like a big bell-shaped curve. But yeah, certainly. I mean, getting below, if we get below 38.97, we're definitely going to repair 86. And then we monitor for continuation lower from there. So I would say breaking that overnight low is bearish, but not because of the trend, in air quotes. All right, so we talked about taper before. Bad taper on the low here. 2,000, 4,000, 5,000, 1,000 is a sign we need another push lower to get some good taper on the low. WSS now looking short. Brother, when I'm looking for a short, the banner on the bottom of the screen will turn red. As I've said, if we break this support, I'll look for a trade from there to repair the weak reference that's left behind and then monitor for continuation lower from there. But as long as there's this giant node of support sitting here, I'm assuming we're just going to keep rotating. So until I have a signal that we're not going to keep rotating, I'm just going to wait. Jeff, is this a liquidation break? Not really. It's just kind of a push lower. Price is in that exploration mode right now. It's just rotating around in yesterday's range. So it's got to push down to see if there's buyers. It's not necessarily a liquidation break. A liquidation break would be very fast momentum. Both indices pushing right through their 20 moving averages with no support there. That's a little bit bearish to see. And the internals are trending down. So can this support hold? Nunez, heard you talking about an algo trader who is juggling different strategies. I'm doing the exact same. I've never heard of that guy. Funny. Yeah, check out Unknown Market Wizards. Unknown Market Wizards. It's a book I recommend for every trader to read, just because it lets you understand how different people's strategies are. Everyone in that book approaches the market completely different than everyone else, but they are all profitable traders. Unknown Market Wizards. Okay, so it's a little bit bearish that the market didn't make its way back up to the halfback, especially the way the volume is starting to form. I would have liked to have seen, if we're going to continue to get chop, if the market's just going to continue to grind around here, I would have expected to see us push back up towards that halfback and bring in some volume, right? You see how there's this super thin volume in here? I would have expected to see us push up and bring in some volume in there before heading back down to test the support again. So the fact that we did not do that is a when what should happens doesn't. That is a little bit bearish, but still got lots of support here. If we break 96, I'm looking for a repair of 86 and then monitoring for continuation lower from there. but they got to break that level first. Captain Axelrod. I was having such a nice dream and my alarm woke me up. Well, bummer. I had the same thing this morning. I woke up really early and then went back to sleep. And then I woke up and was like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. But the market was going to open in 10 minutes, so I had to. Rockingham, would your short signal be below yesterday's cash settlement? Yeah, that's exactly where it is. All right. Well, once again, in that when what should happens doesn't is a little bit bearish that we didn't pull up here and bring in some volume near the halfback. And the ticks are trending lower, but we've still got some support left here. So I'm not quite bearish yet. Scott, what is the halfback? The halfback is this little white line that you see running right through the center of the range here. And that's basically, it's like a Fibonacci 50% retracement. It's just half the range from the high to the low. Jay Trader, did Charles trade the London Open? No, he did not. But he'll be here for the close. The B is that second column? Yeah. So when I say the B period, I'm referring to this column here. Rockingham, so what are the... Sorry, I just totally lost my place. Oh, no, it was Scott. What are the negative and positive numbers to the right of the pink and red candles? So the numbers that you see right here. So this volume profile that you see right here, this is for the current 30-minute time period. And then this one over here is for the full days range. So since we've only been trading for, an hour, we only have a tight range. They look very similar. But this one by the end of the day will be the whole day, and this will just be each 30-minute period. And the numbers to the left, that's the total number of contracts that traded, long and short, at that particular price level. The numbers on the right, that is the delta between the two. So when there's more bids than asks, it's a positive number. When there's more asks than bids, it's a negative number. And that's not really useful if you're looking back at it, but it is useful if you're looking at it in the moment while you're watching it trade up and down. You can literally see, are there more buyers stepping in right now or more sellers in this exact moment based on, are those numbers going up or down? Captain Axelrod says, I've changed my style. I don't need to get up early anymore. It's preferred to get up late so I don't have to take these trades and let the chessboard set up. I think that's great. Most days the market is opening inside the previous day's range, and that leads to chop. You do miss the gap days. Sometimes if there's a gap and go, that's like you got to get into that trade first thing in the morning to be able to maximize it. But yeah, most of the time that would be a preferred strategy. Xavier, where would the halfback be? It's at 39.20.50. It's that white line. Scott says this doesn't feel very good for the buyers. It also doesn't feel that bad for them either. That's the thing. Every low they've made, they've had good taper. And they're still inside yesterday's range. So I think the buyers are actually okay for now. Scott, time for VIP stream? That's right. Be a VIP. Join the brigade. Hang with me. Hear about the markets. See what there is to see. Two tick increments. 4 tick on the NQ. All right, so printing the C period, we've left behind some single prints in the B period. Those have a higher probability of backfilling, meaning the market pushes up to the base of those single prints, but then we look for resistance there. If the C period breaks the B period low, so essentially if it gets below 3,900, we will begin the process of one time framing lower. If that takes place, I would be targeting a repair of the weak references we left behind yesterday at 38.86. So if the market starts to one time frame lower, that becomes a target. And then we'd monitor for continuation lower from there. But as long as the C period stays inside the initial balance, chop is still in order, and we're looking for resistance at the base of those single prints. Remember that sometimes on options expiry Fridays, we have very boring, just like grindy rotational days. So I'm not saying that's what this will be, but it very well could be. So definitely look for a repair of 86 if we break 3,900. But beyond that, we could just go rotational. So good luck, and we shall see you here tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, Monday morning. If you're not a member of the brigade, if you are, I shall see you in the private stream. And if you are thinking about taking the e-course, if it's been bouncing around in your head and you've been saying to yourself, you know, it's $100, that's a big commitment. Am I going to learn anything from this? Is this going to help me? I would say give it a try. Check it out this weekend. And I bet come next week, you'll have a very different perspective on how you see markets. Thank you very much and have a great weekend.